Today we meet a very unlikely wise man in the gospel reading. Jesus is walking with his friends. They're moving down the road. And over on the side, wrapped in a cloak, sits a man who's blind. And he's been blind since birth. In those days, if you were blind, you were isolated, usually even from your family. And you couldn't have a job because there was very little that you could do with your inability to see. There were no treatments for it. And you were often isolated from your family because of the stigma that was attached to that kind of problem. You obviously had done something to make God angry and to make you blind. And that's what people thought back then. And we know that's not true now. God doesn't work that way, but that's what people thought. So nobody wanted to talk to Bartimaeus. He sat on the side of the road. He begged. People would toss him some coins. He had enough to kind of exist, but that was it. But he had a gift. He couldn't see, but boy, could he hear. He knew what was going on. He spent his days here listening to the conversations that went on around him from all the people. He heard talk of this man Jesus who could change lives. And then he heard where Jesus healed someone. That never happened. How could that be? But then people said it happened again. And Jesus even spoke against the people in charge, the people who kept him to the side. He listened to the clamor and he heard that Jesus was coming down the street. And he threw off his one possession, his cloak. He threw that to the side. He stood up and yelled, "Jesus!" And the crowd is startled. This man is speaking. He should be silent. He's not worthy of anyone's attention, much less this Jesus who seemed to be able to heal people. And they come to stop him, and he yells even louder, "Jesus, please." And Jesus stops and looks to see who it was, and he says, "Bring this man to me." And now the crowd who had tried to silence Bartimaeus, they have to help him. They direct him to where Jesus is. And Jesus said, "You called me, what do you want?" And Bartimaeus says, "Heal me." He knows he has normally in his life about 2 seconds to get people to pay attention to him. So he goes right to the point. "Heal me. Heal me." And Jesus looks at him and says, "You're healed." And Bartimaeus can see. For the first time in his life, he's whole. For the first time in his life, he can have a place at the table. He can have a place in the community. He can have work. He could potentially have a family. He could potentially raise children. The whole world is shifted just because Bartimaeus took the chance to open the doors for Jesus in his life. I wonder how much we are like Bartimaeus. I wonder how many times we don't ask God for what we need. I wonder how many times we don't listen for God moving around us. I wonder how many times we cover our eyes and don't see and don't listen and are not open to the movement of God in the world. So I invite you into this story. I invite you to join Bartimaeus. Take a chance, open your hearts, and see what God has for you. Amen.